You are Locked On Buffaloes POSTCAST, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, Buff Nation, the 2025 college football season has officially come to a close for Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes as they end the season on quite the losing streak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-game losing streak to end the year for Coach Prime and CU. Your final score here today is Colorado falls to Kansas State 24-14. It is a 3-9 season for the Buffaloes, 1-8 in conference play. And there are certainly more questions than answers that stem from this season for Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes to try to answer this offseason. We'll break it on down here on your Locked On Buffaloes postcast. Hope everyone is hanging in there out there in Buff Nation. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Also, do us a favor if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button as well. If you're listening on the Locked On Buffs audio feed, the #1 podcast network in the world, you can always come on over to YouTube, but we appreciate y'all listening on the audio feed as well. Let me know your thoughts on a brutal ending to the season for the Colorado Buffaloes. Here's what I want to do on the postcast today, folks. Let's hone in on this game for the first few minutes of the program. Obviously react to what we saw on the field, but I think most Buff fans want to talk about what is the future of Colorado Buffaloes football. Is Deion Sanders a part of that future? Which members of this team will be back next season to try to right this ship? We'll break that all down here on the program today. But as we mentioned, it's a 5-game losing streak for Colorado to end the season. 24-14, your final score here today. And let's start with the quarterback, Kaidon Salter, because this is probably the last time that we'll actually do a deep dive on Kaidon Salter. I'm sure he'll be referenced in future episodes. And next season, we'll think back to what was with Kaidon Salter, depending on how the season goes. And, here's the thing. I understand that it's easy to crush Kaidon Salter. Look, this season was a disappointment. No ifs, ands, or buts about it from the program as a whole, but from Kaidon Salter's perspective too. A guy that did some pretty good things at Liberty, unable to have that translate to the Big 12 with CU this season. I'm not going to just eviscerate the kid because that's what he is, a kid. Like, I understand that maybe his attitude wasn't the best. We heard some stuff about, leadership from behind the scenes and this, that, the other with Kaidon Salter. And this was his last college game today. And so I'm going to take a step back and at least acknowledge that. And I understand that this season didn't go any way that he wanted it to go to, that the team wanted it to go to. But this is the last time we're going to see Kaidon Salter probably playing competitive football. So I just want to throw that out there as well. Not that we enjoyed it necessarily, but, it's always a little emotional. You can imagine what was going through his mind in the game here today. Last time he's going to play college football. And he just didn't have a great day today. That there's no really other way to say it. 14 for 25. I understand there was inclement weather out there. A little snow here for the first time in Colorado this year as well. But he finishes 14 for 25, 172 passing yards, no touchdowns, and really maybe the ugliest interception of the season. I don't know what Kaidon Salter saw on that play. Underthrown, easy interception for Kansas State, and away we go. And so, like I said, there's really no other way to slice it with Kaidon Salter, guys. This was a disappointing season across the board. I mean, Georgia Tech, maybe there was the first game of the year, there were some bright spots. There were some bright spots occasionally throughout the course of the year, but the body of work for Kaidon Salter is not what CU signed up for when they brought him in here to be the starting quarterback for CU and replace and step up in place of Shedeur Sanders, who, of course, went to the NFL and will be starting tomorrow for the Cleveland Browns. So we'll keep an eye on that for sure. I'm sure all Buff Nation is fired up for Shedeur. Got a big win against the Raiders last week. I'm sure there's a lot of Buffalo fans that are also Bronco fans. So nice to see Shedeur get the job done against the Las Vegas Raiders, who's one of the Broncos' big rivals in the NFL as well. But, this season was anything but special for this CU team. And I hate to put a lot of the blame on Kaidon Salter, but we all know sometimes in college football and football in general, you can really only go as far as your quarterback will take you. And Kaidon Salter was unable to take this Colorado Buffaloes team anywhere this season outside of disappointment. That's the reality of the situation. The bright spot today for CU in this game against Kansas State, there's actually a couple little silver linings I'll throw out there for you. Let's talk about Omarion Miller for just a moment. 7 receptions for 120 yards. He's a junior. We'll see. I'm hoping Omarion Miller is back with this Colorado team next season because he was their best offensive player without a doubt this season. I think Tafik Bayard was the guy on defense. Jordan Seaton, despite not playing in the final 3 games of the season as well, another big-time impact player for this Colorado team. But you can have a handful of impact players, doesn't mean you're going to win football games. And that's exactly what happened to Colorado this season as they finished the year at 3-9, 1-8 in conference play. And so we'll see what happens with Juju Lewis in the portal. Is he going to stick around? I'll have some thoughts on that as well a little bit later on in the program. But there's one silver lining today for Colorado on offense is Omarion Miller, the 7 for 120. Michael Welch delivering the 2 touchdowns today for Colorado for their 14 points, although he only had 20 rushing yards on 10 carries. So it's an average of 2 yards a carry, folks. Not exactly what you want to see from that department. Dallin Hayden was cooking in the first half. He had 15 carries for 66 yards, but, crickets for the most part there in the second half. So we'll see what happens with Colorado's running back room. Dallin Hayden, Michael Welch, 2 guys that potentially could come back next season. And we'll see how Colorado tries to build out that offensive identity and that culture, 2 words that I know Coach Prime is not necessarily a big fan of, but seems like common sense that you need an identity and you need a culture if you want to be a successful football team. And look, that they had that with Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. And I understand they only won 4 games in the first year, but last season, that was your identity, was top-tier elite level star power from Travis and Shedeur, some nice complementary pieces as well as along the way. So it is what it is. But my big silver lining, because we're going to have to get critical here in just a moment, I love that Colorado didn't give up today. I understand they didn't win the game. There's no moral victories in football, but they were 16.5-point underdogs entering into this game. They end up covering that spread, losing by 10. And I'm not trying to make this like a betting topic, but again, like Vegas was telling you Colorado was going to get blown out in this game. It was close for a majority of the game, outscored 10-7 there in the fourth. Only 7 points total there in the second half with only the touchdown there in the first half, but they did not roll over and die. That's kind of my big takeaway from this game is, this was a season that it felt like Colorado just let go of the rope after their after their bye week and then coming out and getting blown out by Utah. So nice to see them fight there a little bit as well in this final game of the season. But like I said, to open up the show, more questions than answers with Coach Prime and with this Colorado team. So we'll see where they go from here. Let's hit a quick break. When we come back, let's do a little big picture thought. What's the future of Juju Lewis? Will Jordan Seaton be back? Will Tafik Bayard be back? Will Omarion Miller be back? And kind of a state of the Colorado Buffaloes as a disappointing season comes to an end. All that and more right here on your Locked On Buffs postcast. Back in just a moment, folks. Oof, this is my favorite read to do. Let me tell you about our friends over at Omaha Steaks. Omaha, the holidays always feel a little easier when you already know the perfect gift, and Omaha Steaks makes it almost too simple. Whether you're treating yourself this season or sending something memorable to family and friends, Omaha Steaks delivers handcrafted perfection right to their door. And this season is the best time to jump in because their cyber sale is here, and the deals are huge, guys. The quality is exactly what you hope for. Incredibly tender steaks, rich flavor, and meals that make hosting or weeknight cooking easier. And the variety is completely underrated, guys. Steaks, burgers, comfort meals, sides, desserts. It's one of those gifts that truly fits anyone. Honestly, it's the kind of gift that brings people together, and you don't need to guess anyone's size. Save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale. And for an additional $35 off, use promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code COLLEGE. Terms they do apply. See site for details. I've had Omaha Steaks before. I think it's phenomenal. It actually does make for a perfect gift. My family has received Omaha Steaks as a gift in years past. I love it. Every time we open up that box, we got some filet mignon, we got some lobster tails, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Be sure to check out our friends over at Omaha Steaks and use that promo code COLLEGE to get you some savings. And congratulations to anybody that took Colorado against the spread here today, because our next sponsor is our friends over at FanDuel, and the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. The Nuggets, what happened with them last night? But I'll tell you what, Chicago Bears +7 came through for me nicely yesterday. And how about them Dallas Cowboys with an upset underdog victory over the big bad Kansas City Chiefs? I'm an active FanDuel user. I know you should be too. Be sure to check out our friends who are at FanDuel and let them know that Locked On Buffs sent you. Okay, welcome on back into your Locked On Buffaloes postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP. And this season comes to a merciful end for Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes with their 24-14 loss to Kansas State. They end the season, does see you on a 5-game losing streak, folks. I mean, and this was the closest game of the bunch. No, that's actually not true. West Virginia, they were close. They lost that one 29-22. But you lose to Utah 53-7 coming off the bye. You lose to Arizona 52-17. Then you lose to West Virginia 29-22. Last week against Arizona State, the final home game 42-17. And you lose to Kansas State by 10 points here today, 24-14. So really not a lot of high points for Colorado this season. I mean, the peak of happiness and excitement for this CU team was an upset victory over the then 22nd ranked Iowa State Cyclones. They were able to win that game at home 24-17. That's really the only signature win for Colorado throughout the course of this season. I mean, the other 2 wins for CU was a 31-7 blowout over Delaware and then a 37-20 win over Wyoming. So a Mountain West opponent, 2 games that Colorado frankly should have won. And I think what's most concerning is just how they played in the conference, folks. And that's where it's going to be up to Coach Prime. He's got to take a step back and look himself in the mirror and give himself a little bit of a gut check. Because, and I'm a Coach Prime guy, both hands up when I say that. I love Coach Prime. I think Coach Prime can get this program right. I do believe that. I know not everybody agrees with that, but I think there's more to come with this Colorado team under the command of Coach Prime. This was a season in the gutters. No other way to slice it. He'll be the first person to tell you that, I would hope. But now you got to build for next year. And there's a handful of players that I think Colorado has to do everything in their power to retain, to help build up and change the culture, or really the lack thereof a culture, moving forward next season. I'll give you the guys. Starts with the quarterback, Julian Lewis. Caden Salter over and done with. Ryan Staub's a fun story. Okay, you remember that picture that came out of Shedeur Sanders handing Juju Lewis the keys? That's what we need to see. We need to see Juju Lewis take firm control of this Colorado team front and center as the starting quarterback, as the leader of this offense. More on Juju in just a moment. Number 2 on offense, Jordan Seaton. What's going to happen with the big fella? One of the best offensive linemen in college football. Talked about it with our guy, Kevin Borba. I think it's 50-50 on if Jordan Seaton dips out this offseason. And the reason why I say 50-50, because naturally you're probably like, Aniello, why would Jordan Seaton stick around and play for another subpar Colorado team when this is one of the best offensive linemen in the country? It's because of just that. You've heard it on the broadcast time and time again throughout the course of the season. I do think that Jordan Seaton at this point, despite this year, has cemented himself as a first-round talent, an upper echelon first-round talent. Like, I think Jordan Seaton's going to be a top 10 pick when it's his time to be drafted to the NFL. So I think the only motivation for Jordan Seaton is what he could get off the field, whether that be more money, whether that be contending for a national championship. How much does that weigh versus sticking with Coach Prime and sticking with this Colorado team? We shall see. So I think we're 50-50 on Jordan Seaton. The other guys that you want to see back, Omarion Miller on offense, man. I'd like to see Michael Welch and Dallin Hayden back as well, but you got to make sure that Omarion Miller is back with this CU team. I understand that, he had an electric season for the most part, despite the shortcomings for the team as a whole. I'm assuming teams are going to come after him in the transfer portal. But you need to give Julian Lewis a steady Eddie, and I understand they have some, other true freshmen and young receivers that are coming up in the ranks that could replace him if he does leave. But Omarion Miller is a dynamic offensive player, and Colorado has to figure out a way to keep him here. On defense, the one guy that I'm looking at is Tafik Bayard. And it's hard for me to sit here and say the heart and soul of the defense because I understand they got ripped apart to shreds this season. But if you watch the games, Tafik Bayard battling through injury, this, that, the other. I was in those post-game press conferences for the home games. He's the first guy. He's the guy that if you listen to Tafik Bayard talk after the games, that's the kind of guy you want on your team moving forward. Hungry. A dog, not a cat, to use the Coach Prime line there. So we shall see. Real quick here on Julian Lewis. I don't think Juju's going to go anywhere personally. I understand that he would have every reason to potentially. But, he was talking about it after the Arizona State game, and they do preserve their redshirt season by not playing him today. But he was talking about, working with the young guys and, alluding to building up for next season. So at least if I'm taking what Juju said at face value from that Arizona State game, sounds like he's going to be back. And you got to feel good about that. I mean, he's a 5-star recruit, looked okay when he was kind of thrown into the fire this season as well. So those are the crop of players that we need to see Colorado go out there and try to retain to the best of their ability. Will they? We shall see. Everybody else, I think there's room for improvement. You can essentially count on both hands the number of high school recruits that are coming in for Colorado this year, or next year, I should say, which means it's going to be another transfer portal heavy approach for Coach Prime. Nothing new there. We'll see if it works out. It worked out last season as in the last Shedeur and Travis season. Didn't necessarily work out this year. And I think it's also fair to say that there should have been an expectation for a natural drop-off for Colorado going from Travis and Shedeur to what we saw this season. The issue is how significant of a drop-off it was. I thought Colorado was going to be a 6 or 7 win team this season. They obviously were not. They were a 3-win team. My girlfriend's laughing at me for the 6-7 comment over there on the couch. Had to throw it out there. Come on, I got an opportunity. I got to throw it out there. But it's disappointing, man. It's really disappointing. I mean, you almost beat BYU 24-21. You lose to TCU 35-21. Really not a lot of positivity to take away from this Colorado team this year, man. And, they're losing Marshall Falk. He accepted a head coaching job at another university. I think Warren Sapp is cool, right? It's nice to have him on the sideline, but how big of an impact is he making? He's not going anywhere unless he wants to, right? What happens with Pat Shurmur? I understand the play calling was relinquished from him. What happens to Robert Livingston with his defense? I'm actually willing to give Robert Livingston a little bit of grace. If we're taking it at face value, again, 2 seasons under Robert Livingston, one pretty good one and one not so good one. We'll see what happens. 3 strikes, you're out, with Robert Livingston there in year 3. But I think a lot of it comes down to Coach Prime himself. You could replace all the coaching staff. I mean, you took away play calling from Pat Shurmur. The offense looked as bad, if not worse. So what does that tell you? This is going to be up to Coach Prime, again, to take that look in the mirror and get this thing back on track. And I think Coach Prime is absolutely 100% committed to getting this team back to where he wants it to be and back on track. I think he can do it. I really think he could. I understand there's a lot of people that are, pouting and stomping on Coach Prime and stomping on this CU team. Oh, I told you so. He's not a good coach. Okay. He's had 2 pretty bad seasons and 1 pretty good one. 1 fun one, I should say. We'll see. New athletic director coming in, Rick George stepping down. Who's this new athletic director going to be? What's the relationship with Coach Prime going to be like? Because I do think that Rick George just kind of stepped aside and let Deion do what Deion wanted to do. I'd like to see a little bit more accountability, a 2-way street type of relationship with Coach Prime and the new athletic director. I think that's warranted at this point. But these are all questions that will have to be answered throughout the course of the offseason. So Caden Salter's era is over and done with. It was a disappointing one. It's a disappointing season across the board. DJ McKinney on his way out. We'll see what happens with this team moving forward, man. It is what it is. I don't think there's really much more to say. It's just the season is finally over. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. Look, it's a blessing to be able to do these shows. It's a blessing to be able to cover this team. But this was a season heading nowhere after that loss to Utah. That's just the fact of the matter. I mean, they literally rolled over the rest of the way, except for today where they put up a fight. And I guess they competed against West Virginia, but West Virginia is not all that good to begin with. You beat Iowa State and you feel like you're able to maybe get some juice, right? Some momentum. And it was the opposite of that. 53-7 Utah, 52-17 Arizona State. Those are your 2 games after the bye. And I understand West Virginia, Arizona State, and Kansas State come after that, but for them to come out as lifeless as they did after the bye, I think tells you all you need to know about where this program was at this season. So it is what it is. All right, folks, that is going to do it for me on today's Locked On Buffaloes postcast. Appreciate all of y'all that have been rocking with me throughout the course of the season. It was a blast despite the losses. Like I said, it's a blessing. I'm very thankful to be able to do these shows. So that is going to do it for me on the program here today. That's going to do it for me on this Colorado Buffaloes football season as it comes to a disappointing end with a loss to Kansas State, a 5-game losing streak to end the year for Coach Prime and the Buffs. Your final score here today, 24-14. Happy belated Thanksgiving to Buff Nation out there. Go outside, forget about this season, touch some grass, breathe some air, and we'll be ready to go come the springtime as we get ready for another season of Colorado Buffaloes football. Enjoy it, folks. Enjoy the rest of the games today and the NFL tomorrow. Talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.